Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping your clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what they eat or coming to the gym a few hours a week. We, as gym owners and coaches, have to focus on a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of The Basics of Nutrition Coaching, CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to make one step at a time to becoming the best nutrition coach and building an awesome habit-based coaching program. I'm so excited to introduce today's podcast guest. His name is Stephane Rocket. He is part of the senior content development team for CrossFit. He's also been on CrossFit seminar staff for quite some time. His background is in coach development. He's worked with quite a few different universities, and let's say he knows quite a bit about developing coaches. In today's podcast, we talk all about coach development, your role as a gym owner or a gym manager, and what you can do if you are a new coach, and things you can do to get better and improve and fast track your ability to support your clients. We also talk about nutrition a little bit. He was involved in building the CrossFit nutrition course, so we talk a little bit about that and so much more. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation with Stephane Rocket. Before we get to it, I have a special announcement. Due to popular request, we are going to be hosting a free webinar. This webinar is going to be hosted on June 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on how to build a professional habit-based coaching program in your gym. So if you are a gym owner looking to build a nutrition coaching program or a nutrition coach looking to build a nutrition coaching program, this webinar is going to be for you. In this webinar, you will learn how to price and package your program, how to find a good fit to run your nutrition coaching program. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Gym owners just put the closest person in this nutrition coaching seat, and not everyone makes a great nutrition coach. So we talk about what qualities you should be looking for when you hire a nutrition coach. And then lastly, how to integrate nutrition into your gym. So if you are looking to build a professional habit-based coaching program, make sure you click the link in the show notes and sign up for this webinar. Again, it's on June 28th. There will be a recording available. So if you can't make it live, still register and you can grab the recording. All right, enjoy this episode with Stephane Rocket. Stephane Rocket, I'm so excited to have you on the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are talking about coach development today, and I know you are heavily involved with developing coaches, writing content for CrossFit. I know you were involved in seminar staff for a really long time. I would say you are an expert in this area of developing coaches. It's such a broad topic, so lots to cover today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing that would make me knowledgeable in this is that I've been through that journey. I know how challenging it can be, and I've made a lot of the mistakes that coaches might make on this journey. So hopefully we can dig into that stuff and help people out.
I love it. I think there's something so interesting. We go through an online course or we do something, even I could say like going to school to become a dietitian, like you learn all this stuff in a book, but then when it comes to actually working with clients, you're like, okay, wait a second, I forgot every single thing that I learned, or this thing is not working that was said in the book. There's such a combination of, you have to know some of the knowledge, but then there's also this application of, hey, working with clients and learning from experience and mistakes that makes you an even better coach.
Absolutely. I would probably say from my experience, gaining the knowledge, the book knowledge, as you said, it might be actually the easiest part of being a coach and developing as a coach. It's then that application and taking it to the real world and using it with real life people. We all take courses where there's the scenario they develop for you, right? And it's laid out for you. And then the solution, here's the solution. It's very easy. And never once does that work in real life. There's always like, oh, this doesn't quite fit what this client needs. So the application of that knowledge is really what a great coach can do very well. And really it just takes experience, trying it, failing, working through mistakes, and just working through different scenarios with so many different clients.
I love it. And I think, truthfully, no matter how experienced you are as a coach, you can always learn more. I remember coaching for like 4 or 5 years and took my level 2, and it was the most humbling experience that I've ever had. Highly recommend anyone who has not taken their level 2, and you've been coaching for a little bit, to take it, because it is such a great experience to learn from some of the best coaches in the space. And we can always learn to improve and better the experience for our clients.
Definitely. I'd say 2 characteristics of great coaches is that they have this insatiable curiosity and they never stop learning. And they seek out, like you did, going to the level 2, uncomfortable. I've been in that hot seat too. And it doesn't matter how many people you've coached, how well you know it. It's the hot seat. Someone's looking over your shoulder and grading you on a clipboard. But that's exactly the type of situation you want to put yourself in, that slightly uncomfortable situation where you're expanding your ability. That's what you need to do over and over and over to keep getting better and better as a coach, and to become one of those great coaches. Definitely.
When you think of some of the best coaches out there in the CrossFit space, obviously they're super knowledgeable, but they have this ability to lead a class and do these other things just to make people, their class, their community, feel so welcome. And, people don't remember what they say, they remember how you made them feel. So, there's this balance of, pushing clients, but then also making them feel really comfortable. How do you help develop coaches in necessarily the soft skills to help them really build those relationships and be a better coach?
Yeah, that's a great question, because those soft skills, as you say, are so important to transmitting your message. So you have the knowledge, you may have the experience and the understanding of how to apply it, but it still needs to be done correctly to hit the mark and get the change or the response that you want. And I was fortunate enough, when I came into the CrossFit community, one of my coaches was Mark Burgner, and he is a master coach. There's no doubt about it. Anyone who's been coached by Coach Burgner sees the full gamut of skills that a great coach has. He definitely knows the skills. He's got a great eye for movement. He can correct movement. He can teach the movement. But then you leave there feeling very confident, very motivated, and wanting to come back and excited about this journey you're going to take with him. So how do you teach that? Well, one way is to work with that type of coach, just to see how they do things, how they speak to people, how they correct people. Because when you were lifting for Coach Burgner, it was never this constant barrage of fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this. It was like, that was great. Now, if you're a little faster with your turnover on the next one, it's going to feel awesome. And so just that simple way of delivering it as a positive, and now just keep doing this, changes the experience of the athlete, instead of, constantly thinking you're doing something wrong. He always made sure that you were confident as an athlete. So he was always boosting your skills and saying, pointing out the things you're doing well. It wasn't fake praise, but he was pointing out the things you do well. So you'll see this as a common trait among many great coaches, and they just have the ability to communicate to people. And the last thing I'll say about this is I took a course, I think it was actually a nutrition course, and they had some scientific research that said praise and a positive attitude and staying on the positive side of things really impacts results in a positive way. So there might be a lot of coaches out there who had the experience I had. I played basketball in college, you play football in high school, and I watched my son's high school practices, and there's some language, and some yelling, and some screaming, and that's fine. That's the culture. But really, if there's a way to send that message in with a positive tone, like, you guys are doing great, just keep doing this, work on this, but this is awesome, you're going to get better results. And watching these coaches work is a great way to learn how to use that language, that body language, the way they're communicating with their athletes.
I think one thing about Mike that I've had the opportunity to connect with him is at the CrossFit Games, and every single person that goes to the CrossFit Games has an opportunity to jump in one of those seminars and do the CrossFit weightlifting seminar. And I had the opportunity, I think he was presenting before I was one year, and we had a chance to chat with each other, and he's so approachable. And sometimes as, really great coaches, even if you're not like the level 4 flow master, like your clients, especially if they're new, might be scared to like ask you a question.
Absolutely.
And especially in a group setting. So like, are you approachable, and do you have that warm, comforting aura about you that's like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. Like there's no dumb questions. Like let's just get you moving, let you have the best hour of your day. I think that I'm glad that you brought him up, because I had the same experience with
Awesome.
with connecting with him. And anyone that's going to the CrossFit Games should jump in one of his seminars. I'm sure he'll be there doing the weightlifting seminars again. And it's just a great experience to go watch some cool athletes do some hard stuff, but then go learn at the same time and leave the games in a better place. What you're saying about bright spots or the positives, we know that success leads to motivation. And I think as a nutrition coach, if you are not starting off sessions with a bright spot, you're missing out an opportunity. Because if you start off with, oh, what's wrong? What challenges are you had? Now you're guiding this whole conversation to be negative versus like, tell me something awesome in your life that has gone on over the past month. And then tell me something awesome about nutrition. And when you start broad, now you're going to learn a little bit more about that client, build rapport with them, and celebrate those successes that probably have nothing to do with what you would have thought that you were talking about to begin with. So I love that you brought up bright spots. That's definitely something we preach as well.
I love it.
Speaking of nutrition, you were involved in the creation of the CrossFit nutrition course, which I think is a really, really great course to teach anyone the understanding of meet people where you're at, start with one habit at a time, focus on whole foods first. I mean, all the stuff that you talk about is exactly what we've talked about in the basics of nutrition coaching, the CrossFit preferred course that we wrote. And I think there's such a opportunity, especially in CrossFit gyms, to integrate nutrition into the conversation. What does it look like for you when you think about, the course that you wrote and how to apply that nutrition knowledge as a coach when you're delivering a class?
I would love to see that course used by our trainers at affiliates, where they, take your time. I know there's a lot of information in that course. It grew over, how that is. You start with an idea for a course and it grows. So there's a lot of modules in there, but maybe just take one module and dig into it and understand it, and then figure out the little pieces that you want to take to your affiliate, to your athletes, and just drip that material to them. And we've talked about this, but a great way to do it is in the warm up, or when you're greeting your athletes in the gym and they're assembling, they're getting ready to look at the whiteboard. Maybe you start off the day with just a little nutrition piece, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then in the cool down you can have, they're very attentive there. They're sitting there, they're stretching, whatever. Have a little bit of a discussion about nutrition. If you do this every day, just dripping little bits of information, you're going to start changing the way people think about nutrition and think about food. And B, this is probably the best thing, is you're going to elicit discussions. So now you might have someone who comes into class a little bit earlier, or finds you after class, or finds you at the end of the day, or sends you an email where they're taking the action of, I want to know something more here because I'm going to integrate that into my life. And you can't ask for anything more, because like you said, and I completely agree with you, I think that the fastest path to failure in nutrition is to make this wholesale change of every habit I do. And I'm changing everything and it starts Monday. I've done that 1,000 times and it's never actually worked for me. But this little step-by-step approach, changing one habit here, mastering that, and then adding another one, over time, and that's really the CrossFit philosophy for everything, over time, you will make monumental changes. So if you can just start dripping those ideas around the class, in the class, when you're talking to people, have things on the wall at the affiliate that discuss nutrition. 100 words of fitness is up there, just some infographics that you can put up on the wall, anything like that kind of spurs the discussion and then lets you kind of push the athlete further along that path. I think that's amazing. And then once in a while, if you can have a barbecue or a breakfast after the Saturday or Sunday workout and show them how easy it is to put some of these ideas together, some of these actions together, that's how you change the world, really.
Absolutely. It's always so interesting to me. We say, the first 13 words are about nutrition. The foundation is nutrition, but it's like, hey, nutrition's really important. Let's go to the back and let's go lift all the weights. Like, so many people are missing such a huge opportunity to transform lives because they are not talking about nutrition. And I think a big misconception from all the gym owners and coaches that I talk to is they feel like, oh, well, you have to be a nutrition coach to discuss healthy eating or nutrition. Like, no, everyone on your staff should be talking about nutrition in a consistent manner. And whether it be if you're an HSN mentoring client, all of you guys going through a special training so that we're all on the same page, or if you're not, if you're just a gym owner or a coach looking to learn more about nutrition, go through the CrossFit nutrition course. It's $100. Like it's super really affordable way to learn about a habit-based approach, or just subscribe to this podcast or the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. There's so much information out there. You don't need to say it all. Focus on one thing at a time. But I think a big misstep for gyms is only having the nutrition coach who happens to be the CrossFit coach talk about nutrition in classes. Like, it needs to be a consistent message in all classes. And if coaches aren't educated about it, they're not going to talk about it. So one thing you could do is, like, in the notes section of whatever you put your WOD tracking in, put the tip in there, put what you want to discuss in there with some tips that you want the coaches to bring up. So it can be a consistent conversation. Like, if you don't have coaches that are educated, make them educated so that it can be intentional, because it's so easy to bring up the conversation. Someone says they don't have energy. Well, what did you eat before? I'm tired. What did you eat last night? Like, how you can easily integrate nutrition into the conversations. And what happens is people start seeing better results in their workouts. They feel better, they perform better, and it comes back to you in your gym.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about developing coaches, and that's it. You should be aware of the skills your coaches have. And if you know that a point of weakness is they're not comfortable speaking about nutrition, that's exactly what they need to be doing. It's like everything else we do in CrossFit. What are your weaknesses? So assess your weaknesses and then practice to make that weakness a strength. And if you can do that with your coaches, the message doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be perfect. First of all, it probably takes 10 or 12 times for that message to sink in on a lot of your athletes or clients. So just keep repeating it. But more important than the knowledge and the message is the ability to spur action with it. And just being there and consistently talking about it and then showing that you care and you want to help them is critical. So yeah, when you're developing coaches, they have to have the ability to talk on all these areas. And I think that'd be a phenomenal way to address this, is to basically institutionalize a nutrition component into the workout plan. And having a workout plan is something all great coaches do, and sticking to that plan consistently over time is what gets them results. So put that little nutrition component, beginning or end, however you want to work it. And yeah, the results. Some people wonder why one person gets results and they don't. It's little things like that. Little things like that is what gets you results. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I think we just came up with an idea for you to start helping with class plans to integrate a nutrition component once a week, Wellness Wednesday or Food for Thought Friday in class plans. Go talk to James about that after this podcast and
I will
help him out. I think it's such an important conversation. And speaking about coach development, right? Like, as a gym owner, I think we have responsibility to elevate our staff. And, what in your mind, if you were a gym owner and you had coaches of all levels, beginner coaches or people that are even thinking about becoming a coach, what are some things that you would want to do or you recommend gym owners to do to support coach development?
I definitely recommend helping them get the basic knowledge. So for CrossFit, that'd be going to a level 1. That's where you're introduced to the methodology and what CrossFit really is. So that base kind of knowledge is probably the easiest first step that you could take, and it gives that potential coach or that learning or novice coach some confidence. Okay, I know some stuff now. I've learned some stuff. I'm getting knowledge that will help me do what I want to do. And then I think, and this isn't easy, and I understand this, but what's really important is that you give the coach the ability to coach. And so that means stepping back, and giving them maybe a section of a class. You're going to run the warm up today. You're going to run the cool down today. You're going to explain the whiteboard today. Just little pieces. All right. We still want a very good experience for our athletes. So we're not just going to throw them in there and say, well, I hope this goes well for you, but supervising them. And then what's critical is after you give them this little piece, when that class is over, immediate feedback, positive, and what could be done better so that they learn. And there's no rush on this. This isn't a week thing. Okay, you're going to do the warm up today, the cool down tomorrow, and then the whole class on Friday. Take your time. Some people will grasp these skills very quickly. Some people will struggle more. Take your time, as much time as needed. Make sure they're confident. Do a good job of explaining what you want to see, and do a good job of giving feedback. And I think that's a critical component. I came up as a strength and conditioning coach in the college setting. And my first experience was basically I was thrown in the deep end of the pool, but it's the best thing that could have happened to me. Now, if I'd had someone watching me and giving me feedback after each coaching session that I had, I think I would have learned a lot faster. But my point is, it was the experience of doing it. You can only learn so much by watching. You can only learn so much by reading. You have to get in there and actually be able to articulate what you're thinking and start to see, okay, when I say this, people do this. It's starting to make sense to me. You need that experience. And for these owners, affiliate owners, or head trainers, head coaches, thinking long-term, if they do this, they will develop a staff of very, very capable people. And now they'll be able to handle more athletes well in classes. It's going to help the business, and it's going to help the results that everybody gets. So thinking long-term, taking the time to do this, because yes, there is effort involved in this. There is time involved in this, but it's definitely worth it.
I love that your idea about just giving a piece. So like you're still the coach of the class, but you're going to give that new person or maybe that intern the warm up, or maybe explaining the strength component, or explaining the Metcon, and all of that stuff is written out for them. But then you get to be able to help them with the other skills needed to be an effective coach, right? Like moving around the room and not staying in a box in the front, or projecting your voice enough so that everyone can hear you. So many other little things to ensure when they are on their own, it's a consistent experience between all classes. Because I know for me, one of my fears when we open up our gym was like, I want to make sure that our 6 a.m. class and our 6 p.m. class is run in a very similar fashion. And if we don't have that training for coaches to ensure it's run the way you want it to run, they might be doing the same workout, but they could have a very different experience as an athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. The learning doesn't stop when your little piece is done. Just like you said, now you get to step back and get into that role and probably have a better understanding, since you were out front for a little bit. Now you step back and watch the coach work, and you're going to pick up things that you never would have realized were happening just because you had that experience of being out front. Now, oh, I see how they look at him. I see how they respond to these words. I see why, she's speaking like this to that person. So yeah, it's ongoing learning. But if you have watched a person through this process eventually teach a full class, and you know exactly what that looks like, you're going to have the confidence then to leave them alone, to get out of their space and let them do it themselves, and be confident that it's going to be a good experience for the clients, for sure.
Absolutely. I think sometimes as gym owners, we have a lot on our plate, and sometimes we might forget to do things like ongoing coach development. So let's say hypothetically we did this whole process to get a coach up and going. I truly believe there's so much more learning that needs to happen beyond like, hey, you finished your internship, you're on the floor, goodbye. Like ongoing coach development, coach evaluations, ensuring that the experience is consistent and all of your coaches are leveling up. And you as an owner have a responsibility to help them do that, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on continuous development for coaches in a gym?
It's absolutely critical. I think as an affiliate owner or the head coach there, you owe that to your trainers, and it will only help the results the affiliate's getting, which is ultimately the goal of changing lives and helping people get fitter and healthier. So many things, so many areas to continue learning in. I mean, level one and then coaching a few classes, just scratching the surface. In terms of actual education, the level two would be the next. You talked about that experience. So I love it when people show up to a level two and they have been coaching for 6 months or a year or so. So now they can really use that feedback. They can see maybe some things that they get feedback on things that they were maybe totally missing, but it makes sense to them. It makes sense, and they can say, "Oh, I know exactly how I'm going to apply this back at my own affiliate." I think if in a perfect world we would have daily check-ins with all our trainers to help them, and it can be a 5-minute conversation, it could be a 2-minute conversation, just something. Weekly would be great as well. I think the trainer, the learning trainer, needs to have a small after action self-evaluation after every class. This is I'm talking 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sit down. What went well? What was weird? Where was I completely lost? What did I miss? And then just write that down. And then during the week sometime, check in with your head trainer and just discuss these things. And then, this constant back and forth will lead that this assessment basically will lead to an understanding of what this trainer needs. It might be a course, a specific course. Maybe it's more time on the floor with another coach. Maybe it's a specific skill that the best way to learn that isn't through a course or anything. It's, through practicing some other skill. Go public speak for a little while and learn how to project, things like that. I actually learned how to project in public speaking in the police academy because they wouldn't let me do anything but yell, so it doesn't feel weird to speak loudly. So many different things that you can learn. But if you're constantly assessing and then finding ways to improve those areas of weakness, just a relationship between your head coach, if you build that relationship and it's expected, it's part of your culture, and it's done on a very regular basis, then you will see that continued improvement in your trainers. You're never going to be there. You're never going to be like, that's it, I'm done. So you're always going to be learning. So this is a continual process. And again, it just needs to be part of the weekly or day-to-day business operation of an affiliate. And trust me, I know it's hard. As a strength coach, we worked long hours, but we didn't work as long as affiliate owners did. And we didn't have all the other aspects of running a business that affiliate owners have on their plate. So I empathize and I understand how hard finding time in the day is for some of these things. And I think it comes down to prioritizing what's important and getting with your trainers and just doing these little assessments and continuing their education is probably top of the list.
I love that you brought up like, hey, a self-evaluation, because I think that is so valuable. Sometimes we're our own toughest critics, and if we'll pick out things to just better improve. And the truth is if we can find it ourselves, we're going to be more likely to make that change instead of someone else telling us to do that thing. So I think that's a great action for every single person listening to this podcast, whether it be coaching a CrossFit class or doing nutrition coaching. Evaluate yourself. Like, did I have good self-management? Was I really helping the client? Did I keep them in the driver's seat? What could I have done better? From a coaching standpoint, one of the things that we did for a long time with our coaching staff is we have a Slack channel, and the things that went weird will probably go weird for the next trainer coaching that class. So, hey, timing was a little funky, or hey, this thing happened, so that you're giving the next trainer a heads up. And creating a great staff culture is a topic for another podcast, but setting the next coach up for success, helping them, assisting them is only going to help the culture in your business overall. So I think that's an easy action step that anyone listening to this podcast can take. You mentioned this as well, but if you're not making staff evaluations or coach development a priority, like get something on the calendar. Like we have staff meeting for mentoring every single month. It's the second Wednesday. The same day is our nutrition coach monthly meeting. Like we have calls set that are on the schedule, and it's a great time for the staff to connect with each other, talk about the awesome updates that are going on. If you want to build a successful business and launch new programs, your staff has to be involved with the conversations, or it's not going to get very far. Like if your staff is excited about something, your members will get excited about it too. And if they aren't, it's going to stop with them. So, all really, really great tips. As we wrap up this podcast, any final thoughts regarding coach development, training, anything that you want to bring attention to?
I will go back to one thing you just said about having it on the calendar. So I'm going to refine my statement because I almost made it sound like if you run into each other, if you're counting on just running into each other and doing your talk, it's going to fall off to the wayside. So I really like that point that you guys put it on the calendar. It's a set time. This is where I can come in and ask questions, or this is where we resolve problems, or this is where we set the programming. I love that. So that's huge. If you want it done, put it on the calendar. That's a big point. In terms of coach development, I think from my experience, you want to enjoy this journey. It can be frustrating at times not to know everything, and you'll never know everything, but it seems overwhelming the amount of information you need to know, from nutrition to anatomy to physiology to psychology. And it's going to take years and years and years to learn all that. And for type A personalities who want to get the answer right and do perfectly by their clients, it's hard not to know that stuff and to have to wait. Enjoy the journey and do the best you can with the knowledge you have when needed, and then just keep getting better and better. And trust me, when you look back in 15, 20 years, still learning, still a lot to know, you'll look back and be very satisfied with how the process went. So I guess that's probably the only information I'd like to put out there, because I can only imagine being a young affiliate owner with so many people relying on you and asking you so many questions. Just stay one step ahead, man. Just stay one step ahead. And if you don't know, go find the answer to that one. And that's how you're going to learn. A lot of it's going to be spurred by your athletes and clients. I felt that way with my collegiate athletes. As they got better and better, I was like racing to keep ahead of them. It's got to be the same at an affiliate. As your community grows and they just get better and they get used to the systems you have put in place, and the culture makes them better and better at everything. You just got to stay one step ahead and enjoy it. Trust me, the fact that they're in your care, in your hands, they're doing better than they would anywhere else. So, don't worry about little slip ups. Don't worry about not knowing something. Keep learning and have fun with it.
I love it. Thank you for all that you do. It's so exciting to see all of the continued education coming out from CrossFit now with the professional coach email and all the little videos, so that we as affiliate owners and coaches can, watch you guys as leaders in the industry and constantly improve our skills. So thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you for all that you do. It sounds cliche to say, but you're truly changing lives, and it's an amazing thing. It's awesome.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode with Stephane Rocket. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to coach development. I could talk to him for hours about coach development and adding nutrition coaching programs in gyms. It was interesting. After we stopped recording the podcast, we talked a little bit about how to develop nutrition coaches. And he said, man, one of the things that would be so great is if we were able to incorporate role play, real-time feedback into a nutrition coaching program. And I said, funny you say that. Well, the Basics of Nutrition Coaching CrossFit Preferred course now includes 3 months of nutrition coaching as part of that program. Part of that program allows nutrition coaches to see what it looks like from a client's perspective, but halfway through they switch roles and do a role play call where they are the coach and the HSN coach is actually the client. It is a really great strategy to increase confidence. Next week on the podcast, we have Kayla Pollock, our director of coach development, on talking about one of the biggest things that you can do to increase confidence as a nutrition coach. I really hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did, please leave us a review, give us 5 stars, share it with your coaches so that more people can hear this message. We know that helping our clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about coming in the gym. It really is providing that holistic approach and helping our clients stay accountable to their nutrition and fitness goals. All right, we'll see you back here next week.